I'm Councilman Smith, Chairman. I understand that with the exception of Mr. Cardenas, no one else will be here today but me, which means the conversations will be short. I don't argue with myself a lot, so we won't have many problems. Out of order, and we're going to continue that item for some time. I'll check my notes. 60 days.
You want me to read item?
Go ahead and read the item. We'll continue for 60 days.
Item number 5 is a motion by Council Members Smith and Alarcon relative to a memorandum of understanding between the City, the Los Angeles County's Department of Regional Planning, and the City County Local Enforcement Agency for the Sunshine Canyon landfill, which consolidates the city and county's most protected land use condition as they relate to the Sunshine Canyon landfill.
Thank you very much. And that'll be continued 60 days, waiting for some discussions with the County of LA. So now you can go. Thank you. All right, thank you. Item number 1.
Item number 1 is the Chief Legislative Analyst and the City Administrative Officer Joint Report in response to fiscal year 2008-2009 Budget Motion 24, requesting a report back on issues related to the collection of unpaid extra capacity container fees. This item was also referred to the Energy and Environment and Budget and Finance Committees.
Good afternoon. Emilio Rodriguez-Cio. The joint CLA-CO report before you addresses the application of current extra capacity fees to unregistered containers and recommends the identification, registration, and full application of these fees to all unregistered containers in the city. Additional analysis of any increase in extra capacity fees is still necessary and would be included in a subsequent report. The sanitation currently reports about 148,000 extra capacity containers in existence throughout the city, of which just over half, about 78,000, are unregistered and are not being charged fees. This has a revenue equivalent of $8.5 million, although actual revenue is contingent on how many residents elect to pay the fee versus those returning containers altogether. This is also contingent on how up-to-date the Bureau's records are with regard to containers that may have already been returned or other considerations. The standard allowance for single-family dwellings under the solid waste fee is one 60-gallon black container for trash, one 90-gallon bin for green waste, and a 90-gallon bin for blue bin recycling. Current extra capacity charges include $5 per month for every 30-gallon increments of black bin waste and $2.50 for green waste. Blue bin extra capacity is provided free of charge. Unregistered bins are identified by means of sanitation field staff performing their container replacements, and this is every 10 years containers fall out of warranty, so they're discovering those in the process of replacing the regular bins. If an unregistered bin is found, sanitation staff flag it for its database and attach a notice to the customer informing them of the associated fees. Sanitation has issued notices to residents with unregistered bins of intent to collect the charges for the extra capacity service, and as we understand, have begun coordinating the billing process with Water and Power. In summary, our recommendations instruct sanitation to continue on efforts to identify unregistered containers and begin billing customers accordingly. The Bureau is also asked to expand its education and outreach efforts in order to reinforce the need to keep waste materials in the appropriate bins. We will report back with recommendations on any extra capacity fee increases consistent with the principles of full cost recovery. And we have more definitive data on the revenue potential of existing billing efforts.
Nothing more?
Jorge Santiago, Bureau of Sanitation, just here to ask any questions that you might have.
I'm going to have a few questions. Let's have one person. We have one request for a speaker from the public. So let's go ahead and start that. And Mr. Alarcon is on his way up. I know he has some discussion he wants to also. So Jane Paul, Green LA.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
How are you?
Pretty good.
My name's Jane Paul. I'm here on behalf of the Green LA Coalition. Green LA is comprised of more than 100 environmental justice, and community-based organizations. I'm here to express our strong support for the Clean City, Better World program and for the Green Business Certification Program. The Green Business Certification Program is a sure method to have businesses of all sizes and in multiple communities improve their practices in energy efficiency, water conservation, pollution prevention, and waste management. The program will have a positive impact on the environment, on the survival of small businesses, on the health and productivity of workers, and on the green profile of the City of LA. The Green Business Program requires public and private support for an effective launch and to attract partnerships. The return on investment to the city will be very powerful, as will the benefits to our communities and to our fight against climate change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything on the issue here that's discussing the additional bins and charging for them?
No. The Green Business Certification Program is really why we're here,
Okay.
but we do appreciate the fact that within the Clean City, Better World program, there's support for recycling.
Very good. Thank you very much. And for the written record, official record, we've been joined now by Councilman Cardenas. Thank you for being here. We've already sent number 5 back for continued for 60 days. We're hearing number 1. And also waiting for Mr. Alarcon to join us. Hopefully he'll be here shortly. Let me ask a couple questions real quick while we're waiting for Mr. Alarcon. I understand the department's going to send out a second notice on this issue.
We made a presentation at the Energy and Environment Committee on July 15th, and at that time we were instructed, and the city attorney was consulted, that the notice that we had mailed out was sufficient, and that we should proceed with contacting the Department of Water and Power and start the billing procedure.
Okay, so there's no second notice.
There's no second
That's
notice.
good. I was going to ask why we're doing that and how much it's going to cost, but that's good. So that's okay. I see Mr. Alarcon's now joining us. There seems to be quite a difference between estimates by the original author, Mr. Alarcon, and the department as to how much is going to be generated from this. My understanding is that the initial response was only about 6% of the people responded saying they didn't want the cans anymore. Is that about right?
By sending out all the mailers that we have sent out, we have received a very large response. Initially, after the mailers were received by the residents, our call center was inundated with calls requesting either take the container back, or we're disputing this information. So from the data that we have received right now, and it's a more updated data than when I gave the presentation at Energy and Environment Committee, from the information from the residents responding, approximately 6% of those respondents have said that they will pay the charge. 30% are saying, and these are approximate percentages, 30% are saying, come and pick up our container. 55% are disputing that, basically saying it is not my container. Those sort of things. I don't have an extra capacity, and those things. And 90% of the responses, we have verified that the containers were already returned.
Okay.
So those are based on the number of responses and not necessarily on the total.
All right. Mr. Cardenas?
Yeah, thank you. But the bottom line is this 6%, 30%, 55%, those are all figures of a subset of the identified 70,000-ish.
Absolutely. Those are the ones that we have received information from, and it would be potentially could be projected, but it really be taking a gamble.
Yeah, but unfortunately, this kind of information isn't scientific, but you would expect that some trend of, 6 to 10% might agree overall to pay, some semblance of 20-some to 30-some percent says pick up the can of the entire 70,000 by the time we get down to the end of the road here. But the bottom line is, understand that the directive of the council is to finally get to a point where we are going forward, collecting for services rendered, ending that extra collection for those that we have verified that they have affirmed that they do not need or want that extra collection, and then perhaps arguing with people in their ignorance 3 months, 3 years down the road when they finally realize and read their bill and see that they have been paying extra, and then they say, well, when did this start? And you say, well, according to our records, you were getting your second can for free for many years, and it wasn't until the middle of 2008 that we started charging you. And they argue with us and say, well, you owe me 3 years of charges or what have you, and we argue with them, and then finally they say, well, pick up your extra trash can. But legally, we had the right to collect those fees, right, in that scenario that I just gave you.
Good afternoon, Alex Hello for the Bureau of Sanitation. You're absolute, Councilman. What we've done actually from the 77,000 records we had, we send out the notices, and we, between mails that came back and whatever people called in and disputed some of the, whether they have the container or not, 66,000, we sent a letter that Jorge sent few weeks ago to DWP to start charging all residents with who have not responded.
These are the silent residents.
These are the silent 66.
That's my term. I'll call them the silent residents,
Okay.
66,000.
Or they agreed with it because in the letter also they could basically start charging them. And so we have 66,000 who are going to be start charging for extra capacity. This is one. Two, we've been leaving notices at residences when we have an extra capacity with a tag on it. The tag basically tells them they have 30 days to contact the Bureau. In the event they do not contact the Bureau, we're going to start charging them right
Send their
away.
information to DWP.
That's exactly correct.
Okay.
So we've been trying different mechanism for us to really to recover the city cost. You're absolutely correct. What happened before happened. They did not pay for those containers. But starting from now on, we're basically keeping a tight record. And sending the first mailer out allowed us to clean up and flush out some of our records too, to make sure that. As for the people who disputed it, we do have supervisors who go out in the field and they check to make sure if the residents have it or not. We've done some confirmation of those two. Thank you.
From point of experience, don't say it was a gift for the last few years. Don't do that. I found that
Did I say gift?
Yeah, don't. I did.
no.
Don't do that.
No, it wasn't a gift, for the record. It wasn't a gift. It was an accident.
Yeah. Mr. Alcorn, I know you want to address the committee and ask some questions of the staff.
Gift is a legal term.
First of all, there's two parts to this report. The first part is relative to the conversation that you're having, and I think the department is moving forward now very aggressively to start collecting the fees that are owed. The indications are that 66% of the people, or 66,000 people, did not respond, and we should collect those fees. Therefore, assuming that we will accumulate, the CAO is projecting 8.5 million. I think that's a workable figure. I don't know. It can't be accurate. I mean, it's going to be somewhere around that figure, but we don't know how closely. So, you know, I will make some recommendations to the Budget Committee about how that money should be spent. However, I think we should come back to review how the department is doing again, because we'll have better information as time goes on. And we don't know what glitches might come up. So I would support asking the department to come back to this committee and report in 3 months as to how the program is progressing and what we're finding, and correcting any of the glitches. In the meantime, the Budget Committee can approve some expenditures or not, or do whatever, and adjust if the report comes back with a finding that we're going to accumulate less than the 8.5 million. I think the critical thing is the department did do the notice as directed by the City Council, and now they're using that singular notice to start collecting the fees. And so I think the good news is that this is going to be ongoing. I believe that at some point we will start growing that collection fee again, because more people will participate in extra capacity. But we'll see where that goes. With regard to the increase in the extra capacity fee, which was a proposal that I inserted into the budget process, I'm not getting a sense from my colleagues that, and I'm not real aggressive on the subject. It was a notion that was presented in the context of the budget process, but I would like this committee to fully explore the notion of increasing the fees as time goes on, and perhaps we might be in a position to adjust the fees when we get closer to the budget process for next year. I think the reality is that there are people who are using the cans. There are people that aren't making a valiant effort or even a half-baked effort to separate their trash. I think all of us could probably do better. And we want to encourage them to do that. And the best way to do that is to charge them a fee that they can feel, so that every time they fill up that black can, and they'll think, wait a minute, should I put that in the green or blue can? And that is the way the fee is supposed to work. If it works, then we will greatly reduce the impact on our landfills and our other methods of disposing of trash. So I'm not sure that we have the compulsion at this point to increase the fee beyond its current level. And there may be, we may want to draw a distinction between the black can and the green can for as one example. But I offered that as a budget consideration to resolving some shortages, and I hope that you know, it will be primary amongst our primary in our view as we look at the next year's budget or potential shortfalls that we run into this year. One of the recommendations that I made for the expenditures, just to give you an example, is recovering the 16 fire captains. As it is, the fire captains are still on board, but they're using overtime funds. Not a very appropriate way to do it. And I understand the fire department is going to be strapped as a result of other litigation. So there may be some other shortages that we need to address. I offer the increase in the fees as an option. So.
Yeah, and when you presented this in council, you had a long list of things it could be used for, and we hadn't gotten to that point yet. Now, on this point, it's a good point. Before we get to raising fees, how did we determine the fee in the first place, the 5 and 250? What was the process of coming up with those numbers, and does it meet Prop 13 requirements, et cetera?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Over the last probably 10 years, I know the fee has not really increased, been the same rate. And the Bureau has utilized that increments. We've done some recent studies, and basically we are in the ballpark of our cost of the black as well as the green. The rate was basically, when it was done at that time, was felt that this is really a good increment of increasing of $5 for the black and the 250. So there were some studies that were done basically on the operation as well, but it was really also an estimate that was used as the best estimate at that time.
Okay.
We have
Because-
more figures right now.
Well, say 10 years ago, we were paying $18 a ton at Sunshine. Now we're into the mid-30s.
Right.
Significant difference. Operational costs have got to have skyrocketed because of just gasoline alone. So I would presume that if it was based on some kind of real analysis 10 years ago, that analysis was way off.
The estimate, well, we had a lot of improvements also in the last 10 years. We used to have we had 2 people operating trucks. A lot of the collection was done manually. We moved into automated. So we have seen a lot of improvement. The tip fee is an element of it, but the cost of the staffing and as well as the operations and everything else really comes to it. So the Bureau has really done a lot of improvements over the last 10 years. But again, the figures have not really been increased. And as part number 5 of the CAO recommendation is really to go back and look at these fees,
okay.
like the Councilman Alarcon mentioned,
And I
is
think
really
that's the right
to
thing
come
to do,
back
yeah.
with a good figure.
Yeah.
If I could try to recall, having been the chair of Public Works 12 years ago, the extra capacity fee was never intended to be a full cost recovery program. There was a psychological balance that had to be placed on truly creating an incentive that was effective. At some point, that incentive breaks down, and people don't use the extra capacity. Then they throw good stuff into they mix the trash. They throw good stuff into the blue can, or bad stuff into the blue can. So I guess the analysis incorporated some of that thinking into it. It was really a political decision. How much do we think the market would bear? $5, $2.50. It sounds reasonable. If we can get it on their DWP bill, nobody notices. We're okay. But then that was undermined, quite frankly, and the whole incentive notion was undermined when literally half the people were exempted from the program arbitrarily. And so the answer to your question is unknown. We really don't know what kind of incentive this will be or not. I think we can only use our own personal anecdotal information about our likelihood of putting our trash in the blue can versus the black can. And I know I make a different effort than I used to, even 12 years ago as Chair of Public Works. So I don't think we're going to have a perfect answer. But let me mention this about full cost recovery. The mayor has declared in this budget to get to the notion of full cost recovery. However, we're not going to get there, I think, until next month. Once you analyze the budget, but by the end of the year, we will no longer be. So, in other words, for next budget year, we will no longer be in full cost recovery. So increasing the fee may be a way to absorb that cost increase. And again, I would offer that as a consideration as we go into the future. I think the council as a whole wants to look at that, but it's an offering that we.
Yeah, and I think it makes absolute sense that we should figure that out because these figures are so out of date that nobody knows if they're accurate or not. So I think we have to do that. And just to conform to Prop 13, we have to do that. So I think it's a logical thing. And the other question I had was, you've begun discussion with the DWP regarding the putting this on the bill. What is the time frame for them?
DWP councilman told us they need 6 weeks to enter all the data and get them on. So if we come back and
They're getting better.
yeah,
Good.
Well,
staff have been working real hard with them on it. So
but remember, the DWP billing system is an old,
I know.
antiquated
Yeah.
system, so let's hope we don't break it.
All right. Any other? Okay, then we will, as you mentioned, we will ask for a report back in 90 days, see how we're doing on this. We'll come back and look toward the budget for next year as far as analyzing
That's on item number 2.
on part number
We
2.
were in item 1 right now?
On 1, yeah.
Oh, item number 1 had 2 parts. The part was to approve the report relative to the collection of current fees, and the second part was an analysis on the increase.
Right.
And what I was saying is that we should send the first part of the report to Budget Committee, and the second part return
Yeah.
back in 90 days.
That's what we're doing.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So ordered. Thank you. Appreciate Mr. Alcorn for you coming down, up, wherever we are, up. Item number 2.
Mr. Chair, so just for clarification, item number 1 will be continued and report back for 90 days.
Yeah, on the implementation, and the other part goes to Budget and Finance as far as the fees go.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, item number 2 is the Board of Public Works report relative to the approval of the Bureau of Sanitation's implementation plan for the residential food scrap collection pilot program. This item was also referred to the Energy and Environment Committee.
Morning. Afternoon.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. I am Bernadette Halverson from the Bureau of Sanitation, and I'm thrilled to let you know that we are launching a residential food scrap collection program this coming September. Now, it will be for 1 year. It will start September 2nd, that's tentative, and it will end on August 31st the following year. We have selected about 8,700 households to participate in this program, and they are in 5 areas in Council Districts 1, 8, 9, 10, and 15. And they are in North Central and South Los Angeles districts. And the purpose of this pilot program is to divert the material of the food scraps out of the black bin into the green bin. And this is in response to the council motion that was introduced in 2006 to devise a plan to add food waste into the green bin. Now, we are going to be deploying these kitchen pails. They will be used to collect the food scraps. So all the residents have to do is put all their food scraps into this kitchen pail and then empty the contents of this pail into the large yard trimmings bin and then set out the green bin at the curbside for weekly collection. So it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, and yes.
No, when you're done with that point, Chairman, I have a question.
Oh, okay. So it's actually an easy collection system, very convenient for busy people to participate in. So we have already sent out letters to the residents to introduce the program, and we sent those out on July 1st. And then 3 weeks after, we actually sent these postcards, a sample of the postcards we sent. You want a sample? To remind the residents of that their kitchen pails will be distributed soon. And then we will be deploying these kitchen pails along with easy to understand instructions. And a sample of this brochure looks like this. It's trifold. It's printed in English and Spanish, and that it has the 800 number here where people can call if they have further questions regarding the pilot program. Now we will be utilizing summer youth summer youth students, as well as the recycling ambassadors to hand out brochures as well as deploy these kitchen pails. And the cost of the pilot is about $140,000 and no impact to general fund. And we have been briefing the communities in the affected areas. We have done neighborhood council meetings, and that we are doing more for the next coming weeks. And that is to promote the program. And we have also presented this pilot program to E² already, and I'm here to present it to you for your approval and further transmit this to the City Council.
My main question to you, and I don't know if Councilmember Smith is concerned with this answer. I know I am, because I have green waste facilities in my district when it comes to the end of the green waste. Where is this green waste going to be going?
Oh, the green waste that's commingled with the food waste will be transported from Clark's to a permitted facility out in Lamont Bakersfield, and it's owned by our existing contractor, Community Recycling. So they are permitted to handle the commingled material.
Council member, if I might add, the reason that we selected those areas is because we want to, first of all, eliminate as much handling of this material as possible. The more that material is handled, the costlier it gets. And to get it to the processing facility as quickly as possible. So we have selected routes that are fairly close to our Clark's facility, which is the transfer station. The green material commingled with the food waste will be deposited there, and it will be transferred to long-haul transports to take it to community recycling in Lamont, where it will be composted.
Okay, on that point then, at Clark's, this is the refuse area, that's, all those areas are only going there, so we're not mixing it with other trucks of green waste.
No.
So everything coming there now was going to probably Sun Valley Community Recycling, but now will go instead of the other facility.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you have no commingling issue. You just say, as those green trucks come in, they're going right to the transfer trucks.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. And secondly, on the choice of the areas, historically, these are not high recycling areas. Participation is generally very low in these district areas that we're talking about. So why did you choose that one? Is it because it's close to Clark's, or the volume was low enough that you could deal with it, or?
We felt, and you're absolutely right, these have been challenging areas previously, and we felt that if a pilot works here, this would be our most challenging
Okay.
area.
It will work.
All right.
Those company now.
Yeah.
And then the other item was that, the other consideration was that they are very close to Clark's, and we wanted to move the material as quickly as possible to the composting facility.
Okay. And then on that last point on that is, how has the briefings been going with the public meetings you've had, and what are you going to do to really roll it out and get some success rates up?
So far, the feedback is positive. On our first neighborhood council that was actually in the northern part of the Harbor Gateway, there were about 50 attendees there, and the program was actually well received, and we didn't hear any like resistance or any negative feedback from the people. The second one that we did was at the Can-Do district in CD9. There were about 40 attendees there, and again, it was well received. And what we're going to be doing actually to beef up the campaign on promoting the program is to do door-to-door campaign when we deploy this kitchen pail, and we will be utilizing these kids in the summer youth program, and we have trained them last Friday how to do it and how to explain the program and the benefits of the program to the residents. So we did some kind of a role playing so that they can transmit and relay the message to the residents. So we're looking forward to deploying this this August, granting that we get an approval from the City Council, so that we can still utilize the summer youth students. Otherwise, we will be, be doing it ourselves instead.
Alex, get your shoes on. All right. And then lastly, are you taking advantage of this opportunity to promote blue bin recycling as well, as long as you got their attention?
Yeah, in fact, we are also doing some kind of contamination study, not just on the green, not just on the black, but as well as the blue bin as well. That's why we are partnering with the recycling ambassadors so that we can have all 3 bins inspected and, reduce contamination of materials in each one of the 3 bins.
Good. Okay, great. Anything else, Mr. Curtis? All right, well, first of all, I want to thank you for doing this. It's something we've been talking about for a couple of years now and kept running into roadblocks, and you found a way to make this, at least try this out and see how it works. So I'm excited about it. I hope it works well. I don't speak Spanish, but Mr. Cardenas does. So if you need somebody down there to help, I'm volunteering Mr. Cardenas.
Oh, by the way, all our informational material are actually bilinguals, English and Spanish. All this, if you want a sample, I'll give you some right now.
Thank you very much. So with that, we'll go ahead and move, concur with the E2 report and move to council with our recommendations of support. And also, if you continue to report back to us, maybe in 90 days, how things are going on the rollout, and keep us informed.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3.
Item number 3 is a communication from the Bureau of Sanitation dated August 27, 2007, relative to an assessment on implementing a pay-as-you-throw approach to charging trash fees to the Solid Waste Resources Revenue Fund. This item was also referred to Budget and Finance Committee.
Good afternoon again, Alex Hello.
Borges and Esteban again.
There was a motion about 2 years ago about to start this program, and the Bureau of Sanitation basically looked at it and said, well, it's really hard for us to do it this time. During this last budget hearings, there was another recommendation to do. So the Bureau has submitted a second report where we're going to be looking at the 5 waste sheds in the city, and we will be doing the pilot for 1 year. And as we do the pilot, we'll be learning from it, and we'll be reporting back to the committee. Our Director, Enrique Zaldivar, has promised the council that by the end of August, we will be coming in with the routes selected to start the pilot. And we will be, actually we are on our way, identifying those routes, working with the different council districts so that how it impact them. We'll be trying to cover the entire waste sheds from the valley down to the harbor. and we'll be starting the pilot in January of 2009. And the reason we want to start really in January is because we have the food scrap program starting in September. We'll be collecting a lot of data with the staff that we have. And actually, what Bernadette failed to mention is that at all the public hearings she's been to, the two she's been to, people were clapping at the end of the meeting, saying the only complaint she got was, what took the Bureau so long to start? So we want to start really that program. We really want to make sure it's very successful. And after this, in January, we want to start with this program, the pay-as-you-throw. Residents who reduce their container size in the black from 60-gallon, the standard allotment, to 30, they'll get $5 reduction. And we're really targeting the black.
What was it again
from 60, Councilman, to 30, they'll get $5. If they go from 90-gallon down to 30, they'll get $10. And know that staff is working with the city attorney based on the motion was introduced last week by Councilman Smith on to amend the municipal code, so we'll be able to give credits back to residents. And we're also working with DWP on that.
It will be, Councilman, it will be the same structure as the existing extra capacity. We're asking the residents that if they need another 30 gallons, that we will be charging them an additional $5. Conversely, if they reduce their refuse by 30 gallons, we will credit them $5. So we'll be keeping the same structure.
Great. No, excuse me, great. Sorry. Mr. Cardenas.
Great if it works well. I hope it does. Where are they implementing pay-as-you-throw that we're aware of? Who are we learning from? Who has done this and have learned from their mistakes so we don't make the same mistakes?
Good question. In the first report, when we came back, we looked at all the cities who were doing it. Basically, San Jose and West Covina, San Francisco, Pasadena, Glendale, and we looked at what they've done and what they learned from the mistake. The thing is, they have a lot of issues, which is the residents who are basically misusing the other containers, and they also were dumping in the neighbors. And so what we tried to do with our report, address those issues by saying, we will give you the $5 if you agree to reduce, but there also will be first warning, second warning, then will be a fine, and then we'll be removing the containers. And we will be probably putting a fine and turn off. And to re-put the container back to the resident, there'll be a charge to place the container again. Just like if you turn your power off and you restarted it, there'll be a charge for this continuum of service. So we saw what the other cities around us have done, and as far away as the East Coast. In a lot of places, what they do is they use basically a plastic bag and they pay for that one. But the ones who have containers, so the ones that have used the containers, Councilman, they basically use the volume-based. And we basically learned from their mistake, and we're trying to do it through our pilot.
Now, when you say we've learned from their mistake, these other jurisdictions, how long have they been doing this? 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Some of them, what happened, they've done it for maybe 6 months to 1 year, and they discontinued the program. And we have actually that in the detail in the report. And some of them who are using it based on the volume base, like we do in the city, who are using containers. We're comparing apples to apples. And that's why we want to, as we do the pay-as-you-throw, we really want to stick to a volume-based system, and the reduction will be based on just if we'll take their 60-gallon, we'll drop them a 30-gallon instead, and we'll be charging them of this one. But if we see contamination in the blue, if they're using the blue to put their trash or the green to put their trash, then will be fines associated with that one. So we're using the carrot and the stick.
So the system that we anticipate we're going with pilot programs right now?
That's correct.
The system that we're looking to use is a categorical container size. It's not the sophisticated one where it's accurate to the point of they'll say you get this size container and we'll weigh it or what have you. So it's just a categorical size of a container, and then they'll be charged or reimbursed X amount of dollars based on that categorical size of container they agreed to confine themselves to.
That's absolutely correct, because the scales we looked at that you could use with the barcodes, all our containers have barcodes, and we can tag that one to a scale system. The problem with this one is the scales will have to be recertified over and over and over. City of Glendale and some others who used it, basically you'll need mechanics, so that's going to cost us more to be weight certified scale. So that was an issue for us. Plus, if you're going to be billing every week based on what they put out, on that one is going to be a nightmare when we have 750,000 residents, multiply that by 4 times a month. So it's really a huge database that we don't need to create more work. We're trying to optimize the system that we have and still address the residents' need with the pay-as-you-throw.
Okay, thank you.
A couple questions. How big are the areas we're choosing?
The routes basically run, Councilman, about 600 to 800 homes.
It's a good size.
And so we're starting with the small, and we want to expand it. But again, we want to collect data before we start collection, after to see how the behavior changes.
Okay. And are we doing like we did with multifamily recycling, where we're testing different types of technologies or ideas in the different areas, or all just one uniform test?
The pay-as-you-throw is only one test,
One test. So
but it's going to be covered in the different areas of the city.
you're taking what we've learned from other people's experience and devising a program, then to see if it works here.
Exactly, for the city of Los Angeles.
And then finally, how do you inspect for violators as far as the blue bin, green bin go? How do you know? Because we don't really have people out there inspecting other than the ambassadors program, which is already going to be utilized in your program. So who's going to do that?
We basically have we have the material recovery facilities where our recyclables go, and we have a staff who basically check those loads, because we have to keep certain cleanliness on the recycling. So when it comes to the blue, we have the material recovery facilities.
Yeah.
That'll be an indication. During the pilot, we're going to spend more time and reassign some of the staff around to do this work. It's really stretching.
So
but
you're watching the particular truck from this collection area to see what the contamination level is. Do you have a background contamination?
And that's what we're doing before we start the
Right.
program. And that's why we wanted to start in January.
Compare with. Okay.
Exactly, create the baseline and we go from there. We do have an idea right now, because we have a green material collection, we have recyclables, we can tell you what the supervisors in the field are able to tell you which routes are the most contaminated.
Very good. Well, I continue to just applaud the department, and every time I turn around, I am amazed at the number of people that come out to these public meetings about trash, first of all. It's just amazing to me that, I thought I was the only nut in town that talked about trash other than you guys, but it seems to be very popular, so wherever it goes, people come out in large numbers and listen and participate. So I commend you for continuing that. And then, as we've looked at, and we know historically you look at the organics that you can take out through this green bin program, pay-as-you-throw will increase recycling. We could reduce the black bin by 50 to 60% by rolling out these kind of programs. And so I just commend you on that, and I think the future is very bright. So I think the action we have to take today is note and file the original number, Council File 070600-S49, and then we can't take any action on the budget item, which was number 37, but ask for you to report back as this goes forward. Is that correct? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Does that mean that you're not nuts, or there's just a lot of people?
There's a lot of other nuts in the city, yeah.
Okay, you handle that. You handle it.
And finally, number 4.
Item number 4 is a motion by Councilmember Labange and Parks relative to amending the solid waste collection, recycling and disposal fee motion, Council File 060296, to institute discount for senior citizen and to instruct the Bureau of Sanitation to report on the use of lifeline rate measures.
Good afternoon, Robert Tannell with Bureau of Sanitation. Currently, under the current ordinance, senior citizens that meet a certain criteria and disabled they pay $0 for their trash pickup. So that's already current in the ordinance, and that's currently amount to about $16 million of deferred costs.
60 million annually?
16.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not a gift, though.
It's not a gift. No, it's, we looked at the lifeline, the low-income issue. If that were to be enacted into the Bureau, using DWP's data, that would include another 29,000 people, and there'd be a analyzed discount of about $2 million additional. But currently, in the current ordinance, under the waste fee, is the exemption of fees for the senior citizens 62 and older and disabled.
62, huh?
62.
Getting close.
But they have to meet a certain criteria of income.
Oh,
That's-
okay.
It is 62 and older, disabled, and they have to have an income criteria depending on the number of residents in the household.
So the author, Mr. Labange, did he want to spread it then to this additional group, or was he thinking holistically that we aren't doing that?
I'm really not sure
Okay.
what was requested, other than it may not, we talk about Lifeline, and it might be interspersed with low income, and I'm not sure where the break is.
But if we were to just continue where we're at, we're already assuming $16 million in reductions to
Exactly.
people that meet those criteria.
That's made up through the regular trash fee.
Okay, and that's already in the budget that
It's already
way.
in the budget.
And then dealing with those others that may not fall within the criteria as defined, low income primarily, that as senior citizens, they probably dispose of a lot less trash. It is my experience with them. So theoretically, if we roll out pay-as-you-throw citywide, they're going to get another option to get a reduction if they're not in the other defined class already.
Correct.
So with that, what is your recommendation? Do we need to just receive and file this, or
Yeah.
should we just,
That'd be fine.
yeah, I think, Mr. Kernis, do you have any?
No comment.
I would suggest we receive and file this matter, and that it's already primarily taken care of. And we'll explain to Mr. Labange, if you would, let him know that.
Okay, we will.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That being the case, we are complete with the files today. Anyone wishing to address the committee on anything not on today's agenda, please come forth. Seeing none, your last chance. Thank you very much. Meeting's adjourned.